One of my very favorites, one of our very favorites, extremely busy right now. So we were going to play a game where we were going to call the great Corey Chavous at like 11:05-ish or so. And if he wasn't there, we were going to call again at 11:20. And if he wasn't there, we were going to call again at 11:40. And we got him first crack, and here he is, my main man, Corey Chavous, former safety for the Minnesota Vikings. And Corey joins us now. Corey, good morning. It's Paul Allen. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I got to hear you call your first NBA game last night, man, and I was like, what can't this guy do? You were amazing, man. I just want to tell you that right now because I really enjoyed the entire broadcast, man. You were awesome.
I appreciate that, Chave. I didn't know that, but that's very cool that you said that. So we actually had a couple of calls queued up for you, and here they are.
DiVincenzo ends up with the ball. He'll throw it down low. Julius Randle playing bully ball on the overmatched and oversized Devin Vassell, and it's 25-14 Wolves, 3:49 and counting to go in the first quarter. Minnesota on a 14-6 run.
The Timberwolves have won 5 in a row with Julius since he came back after the month injury. And my man had 10 assists last night, and he's nearly had 10 3 consecutive games. With Julius Randle, I'm not going to compare him to Nikola Jokic. All right, Joker is otherworldly, specifically right now. But I like this point forward Julius Randle thing because he handles the ball so well. Do you like it?
I do, man. I think you were actually asking or talking with Chris Finch about it a little bit in the pregame, and I think when y'all were doing the broadcast, one of the things y'all talked about was maybe, not necessarily shooting as much from beyond the arc.
Right.
And, when he does have the ball in his hands, being able to kind of facilitate within those half-court sets. And I think he's always had good vision as a passer. And I think it's a little bit different, than how they were using him in New York, where he had to be a little bit more relied upon. I don't think he necessarily has to be relied upon as much to score. I think there's going to be spots where you ask him to do that, but I think it's worked out pretty well.
Here's another one for you.
At this moment, Jaden McDaniels with a three from the left side. It clanks out. He steals it from Devin Vassell. Here's a pass to Edwards. Slam dunk! Anthony Edwards flushes one home with a minute to go in the first half.
Nobody says slam dunk anymore. So I'm like, it was Chick Hearn invented the phrase slam dunk for moments like that. So I'm just going to say slam dunk, man. But Jaden McDaniels, I don't know what you thought of him coming into the NBA. He's kind of an in-and-out player. But, man, his arms go from Maui to Maine. He jumps out of the gym. Defensively, super sound. It's just when you play with Anthony Edwards and or Julius Randle, well, I mean, your offense can get a little lost, right?
Yeah, it can. I think it was interesting when you had KOC on there, and he was talking about that was one of his favorite players, kind of like that Swiss Army knife. And I remember covering him back when he was playing AAU basketball. He came out of Washington. He played on a pretty good AAU basketball team back in the day. He's always kind of been that type of player, even when he was playing with his brother. So he's one of those players that is going to always be involved in the action, even if he doesn't score. I think you referenced, his season high was 29, I guess a couple of nights back.
Yeah.
But I do think he can give you those types of nights, but he's certainly a player that, he's always in the passing lanes. He's a what I call a natty player, but yet he has the athleticism to play on the wing and do a lot slashing to the basket as well.
All right, and lastly, how about this?
Jaden McDaniels, left-handed dribble by the foul line, now near the elbow. Wonderful pass to Conley. Excellent pass to Gobert. Slam dunk. Rudy Gobert says au revoir, San Antonio, and the Wolves lead by 9.
How about Joker the other night? I mean, I think it was Friday against Phoenix. 31 points, 22 rebounds, 21 assists. I mean, the only in the history of Naismith's game to have a 30-20-20. I mean, the Timberwolves get them Wednesday. Wolves have beaten them 9 of the last 13, including twice this year. But old Joker's ramping it up now, isn't he?
He is, and I was having this debate the other day with somebody, and I think he's still the he could win the MVP every year, right?
Yes.
I think this year we kind of think the MVP might go to Shea Gilgeous, but I still think that, every year, how can you not have him as a top 5 contender every year or a top 2 contender every year for the MVP? It's one of those situations where it's almost like the Lamar Jackson MVP fatigue, maybe, but
yeah.
I think he's an incredible player.
Now, football with the oxymoron, Corey, as known as the legal tampering. We're 15 minutes into it. Let me start locally, okay? Aaron Jones reportedly has re-signed a 2-year deal with the Minnesota Vikings. It's like 2 and 20, and if you put all in and stuff like that. Now, Aaron had 1,500-ish total yards last year. What do you think of Aaron at this stage of his career? And do you, because I haven't asked you this, but I asked everybody this at the Combine, do you truly believe the depth of the running backs in this draft coming up in a month and change? Is it really, really deep where you can get some good ones on Saturday?
Oh, yeah. You could definitely get some good ones on Saturday. And I think that's something that if you want to get maybe another person to come in and maybe combine and maybe get more competition, depending on, I guess, what you would do maybe with the backup. I know we talked a little bit about how well your backup played Akers as the year went along, at least late in the season. But I think that the running back depth in this class is really, as deep maybe as even some of the defensive positions, which are very deep, like defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. So I think you can get somebody on that day. It just really depends on your flavor and what type of back you're looking for.
For the way Kevin O'Connell runs it here, with Jones back in the mix, with the right to change these names, but you don't change names, man. When you see it on film, they go where they go, and they generally go where you say they'll go. What backs who are going to be drafted do you think would fit well here?
I think Taj Brooks from Texas Tech will fit well. Now, he could possibly be, some of these guys, remember, we're not going to probably have 30 running backs get drafted, right? So some of these guys could end up, sliding as undrafted free agents, but incredible back in terms of his changes. I would say he's subtle on his feet, kind of has a Le'Veon Bell type running style. But he was the quickest running back, at the NFL Combine, and that didn't really surprise me because when you watch him play, you kind of see that, being really light on his feet, being able to skip through some holes. I feel like he's just very patient, back-to-back 1,500-yard seasons. I think another guy who would be a good compliment to Jones would be Ollie Gordon II. Now, he didn't have a great combine or anything, but certainly has been a very, very determined and powerful running back at 230 pounds. I think he could be a good kind of mix-up. I like Caleb Johnson. I never really thought he was going to go to Indianapolis and have some spectacular day in terms of running a 4.35 or anything like that, but he was very productive. He got better every year in school, and I think he's a complete running back, and I think he does a decent job. He really didn't catch the ball as much as he probably would have preferred. He had that one game against Michigan State this year where I think he showed he had soft hands out of the backfield, but he's somebody I think, too, that probably will get a little bit undervalued. And then one more back that is a possible day 3 or maybe even undrafted free agent would be Davian Martinez, another bigger back out of Miami of Florida. Used to play at Oregon State and popped a lot of big runs there. He ran well. He ran in the 4.5 range, but when you watch him play, he's tough to tackle. And he has underrated, I believe, game day speed. I was at his final career game, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and basically put the frosting on an icing or whatever you want to put on the Pop-Tart because he broke a long one for a touchdown in that game.
Of course you were at the Pop-Tart Bowl. How long's the Pop-Tart Bowl been around? The Pop-Tart Bowl, how long's it been around?
Yeah, no, it just started, man. They got the guy coming out of the Pop-Tart at the end of the game, man. I'm thinking about why I only have butter on my Pop-Tarts and then I have the frosted ball.
Oh, yes. So, come on. When you have 3 chins like me and you haven't felt your ribs for 30 years, I'm a Pop-Tart connoisseur. What's your favorite? And do you do you require them to be heated, or can you eat them cold? And do you eat the crust around the frosting before you eat the frosting?
Well, I think it's going to be a little bit sick, so prepare your stomach.
Okay.
It has to be burnt. I'm a big burnt toast and burnt Pop-Tart guy.
Wow.
I used to get everybody in the house mad. My mom would get mad. I'm glad my dad was at the shop already working on a transmission because I'm telling you, I'm burning those Pop-Tarts and I'm putting the butter on, and blueberry was my favorite. No frosting, of course.
Oh, that's terrific.
I always love that.
Wow. Wow, you're in such good shape and always have been in such good shape. I can't believe you've ever eaten a Pop-Tart. I mean, what's your body fat at these days? Like 8% or 7%? Seriously.
I'm trying to keep it pretty low, Paul. I don't partake in the Pop-Tarts bowl much anymore, but
hey, before that game against the Falcons, when you and I were chatting on the sideline of US Bank Stadium, and you met Justin Jefferson and some other players and stuff, man, they were all super happy to meet you too. It's like when Tom West told me, hey, your friend Coach Chave's going to be here today, Corey Chavous. I'm like, well, that's great because he's going to apprise me of a lot of football knowledge. But the worst thing is he's going to look at me and call me fat.
I always love that one.
He's going to say, Paul, I want you to get out there and run or jog or do something, if only for 5 minutes a day. Remember you and I went through that patch for a year where you were just beating me down about my health.
No, I beat myself down about my health. I gotta always watch it. I mean, we all do, but I think you've done an incredible job at.
Oh, really?
I thought maybe the body fat percentage had dropped about 10% the last time I saw you, so I think you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I know. I went down from 41 to 31. That's terrific. Jonathan Allen is reportedly at the Minnesota Vikings facility today, maybe right now. Defensive tackle, Washington cut. What at this stage of his career, and with all due respect to what we have here, not playing by Daron Payne, who clearly is going to get a lot of attention. What do you think of Jonathan Allen?
I think he's been a solid player overall. He's always been a great run defender, and that's something that you know that you're going to get from him. It was never. I never felt as if he was going to be a 10 to 15 a sack per year guy, even when he came out of school. And maybe that was a little bit different. I think some people felt like he could develop into that. And I think there have been stretches where he's been. In terms of just really, it's not always about sacks. Really, it's about the types of pressure you can get from a number of different positions, which is what he gives you, that ability to line up inside, can still play a little bit on the edge. I think he's more effective rushing inside over a guard, but I think that's what he gives you. I think he still has some juice when it comes to doing that, getting on an edge. So I wouldn't be at all opposed to you picking up a player like him, because I think it does increase the value depth. Sometimes depth is just depth, right? But that's value depth and a guy who could be a starter.
Hey, Ian Rappaport at Rap Sheet via the tweet machine, NFL Network. He's going with the top center in free agency is off the board. Ben Johnson with the Chicago Bears. I mean, honestly, can you be more aggressive than he's been, which is good? But Drew Dahlman, top center in free agency, according to Rappaport and NFL Network, he's going to the Bears. And he's going to get $28 million guaranteed, second highest paid center either ever or currently. So now, I mean, Ben Johnson, before free agency begins, he's like, you children can go ahead and mess with your toys in free agency. I'm going to make trades to get people. So he gets Jonah Jackson to play one guard spot, Joe Tooney to play another. Now he has the center, Drew Dahlman. What do you think about the work they're doing there on the O-line in Chicago?
I've been impressed with it. I think there's a clear focus. I think he's trying to send a message that if the reason why I got so many accolades, right, was because of the offensive line, I'm going to stay true to just that. And I think that's a good message to send to not only the fan base, but the team, because, you think about all the trick plays. You think about the Dallas game when you're up by 40 and all of those different types of things, and the reverse passes, the Panay Sewell and all of that stuff. But I do think that he's sending a message that I did learn something about identity and how we became a good football team in Detroit, and I'm going to kind of run that back here or attempt to in Chicago. And I think that is a positive message for Bears fans. A team that when you think about that division and you think about the Chicago Bears, you think physical, right? You think Dick Butkus. So I do believe that it's a pretty good move so far. Now, Dalman, to me, has always been a guy that's got incredible mobility. And that Atlanta offensive line I thought was the best that I saw in the league last year, and not that surprising when you got a guy like Matthews. They just gave him an extension on the edge, started 179 games in his career, and then you've got McGarry on the right side. Yeah. And then not only that, you've got a pretty good left guard as well, Bergeron. So they're a really good offensive line, and Dalman was a big part of that coming out of Stanford.
Corey Chavous is our guest, elite football mind.
Chavous.
One of my, if not my all-time favorites in my 27 here at KFAN. J.C. Horn, corner for the Carolina Panthers. Now, Corey, out of Vanderbilt, came into the league with Arizona opposite Aeneas Williams as a corner, transitioned to safety, had a bunch of go to ProFootballReference.com, put in Corey Chavous, go ahead and look at that career. That's what my man does and did. So when it comes to secondary, J.C. Horn, he got $70 million guaranteed. J.C. Horn, what do you think of him?
Man, I one of my former teammates is the defensive back coach over here in Carolina now, and a hell of a coach, was a defensive coordinator in this league. And I was hoping that he was I didn't want to say, I'm really excited about that move because he's going to be able to learn under one of the best, I think, secondary people in the league in Ronaldo Hill in terms of coaches. So that's going to take his career to another level. I'm really interested to see what they decide to do. And I know you're going to love this Michael Jackson reference or whatever on the other side. He had an excellent year. Those corners played well for Carolina down the stretch. He was a big part of it. Had some injury issues, Paul, and kind of has, I have to say, gotten over those and gotten back to that rookie year form. Very excited to see what's going to happen with him moving forward.
Well, even at this stage of his career with Davante Adams, Davante Adams with Sean McVay, that sounds like the proverbial warm blanket on a cold winter night. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I thought later in the season you could kind of see him get the legs back. I thought he had some pretty strong games as the year closed out. I still think he has a lot left in the tank. So I'm impressed that they believe that too, because I think with the way he plays and the fact that he can work the outside lanes. They've got somebody with Nicole that can work the middle of the field. Yeah. I think that's going to be a good compliment. And so I think he kind of fits into the style of receiver that they like. Yeah. But with a little bit more, Nicole can work the outside lanes a little bit too, but I think it's a little bit different with Adams.
Well, with Davante, he's one of my favorite players the last 15 years. You talk about tough route running. He comes out of Fresno State. He doesn't come out of the gate fast. So, of course, in this generation, people start just destroying him, even before he plays 20 games. I always liked Davante Adams and how he pushed through that with the Packers. Now, on the other side of it, his final days in Las Vegas, he acted like a child. That's the only way to put it. And it really, really disappointed me. But then if you take a step back, you think, that Las Vegas has done that to a lot of people. Whether you're in football or you're walking up and down the strip. So do you think Davante with this fresh start with McVay, this is it, and he wanted to be on the West Coast. That's why he eventually left Green Bay. Plus he also wanted some Wi-Fi.
I always love that one.
But, if Davante puts everything forward, McVay got himself a good one, didn't he?
He did. I like that Wi-Fi. You can take a little shot at the Packers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would have done it. I would have done it with South Carolina, but then you would have emailed me and we would have talked for 6 hours tonight.
I always love that.
I would have gotten the worst. I would have gotten the worst of it.
Look.
Yeah,
I do think that I do feel like it's a pretty good mix. I guess the Wi-Fi comment did throw me off a little bit. I was I'm over here about to start cracking up on that, but no, I do think Adams. I guess the big thing for me is at 32, 33 years old, can he give you? And you'll remember this pretty vividly. The Tim Brown, Jerry Rice, when they got together in their late 30s, they were still 1,000-yard receivers in out on the West Coast for the Raiders. So you just wonder whether or not, as some of these receivers get up in age, how productive they can be. I tell you one guy that used to be a former Viking. We were talking about Carolina earlier with Horn. I thought Adam Thielen looked very good last year near the end of the season. And he's always been a guy that Bryce Young has been very comfortable with, but athletically, he's been able to maintain his athleticism, fight through those injuries, and still make some very, I had to say, body control type catches late in the year. So that's kind of what you're expecting, a veteran leader, and kind of opposed to what you were talking about those last days out with the Raiders. And so that's kind of what they're going to be expecting from him to provide in the receiver room. Because they already re-signed Tutu Atwell, don't forget that, who obviously they feel like he could be still productive in the slot and beyond.
All right, well, lastly here, since you gave some love to AT19 Adam Thielen, it's in all my years calling Vikings games or following the league from afar, inside the, let's say, 20 to the 15 in the red zone, at one point, I mean, Randy Moss was GOAT. I mean, he was just virtually unstoppable inside the red zone. Cooper Kupp was amazing in the red zone before, he'd had some injuries. And Cooper Kupp's run blocking, when they put him on that jet sweep and they get him in tight next to the tackles or the tight ends, in essence, as like an edge sealing wide receiver, just cracking on the edge. He's really good at that. Adam Thielen, inside the 20, he's good. Inside the 10, he's also good. Inside the 5, he runs some of the hardest routes inside the 5 and quickly. He's about as good inside the 5 to maybe the 8-yard line in the red area as I think I've ever seen, man.
Yeah, and I think that just goes to, it really kind of goes to how you are able to work your way through traffic and the feel that you have in traffic and being able to become quarterback friendly in that part of the field. And I think that is definitely helpful, even at 34 years old, 35, whatever it may be, when you're working with a young quarterback who knows where you're going to be. And that could be the case no matter who you're playing with. So that's eventually going to get you targets, because you're dependable and you have a feel for being able to create some space. I think that's one of the things that makes a player like him, one of those consistent performers pretty much year in and year out. You're going to get, 60-plus, 70-plus catches.
Coach Ave, nobody better. And I'll be calling you again soon, okay? Appreciate the knowledge, man, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. God bless you and your family.
You too, man, and great job again last night, man. Really enjoyed the broadcast. It was amazing, and you made it look too easy.
I appreciate you, man. You know how much fun I had, and thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right, you take care. Have a great one.
Yeah, you too. Corey Chavous, former Viking safety. That's an elite football mind right there. And if you just have become apprised to what Corey Chavous offers from a mental acumen standpoint with his quick twitch with these veterans and free agency and legal tampering, wait till you get a load of how he talks about college kids coming into the draft. I mean, he's really, really sharp. Thank you, Corey. Love you, bud. It's 11:33 into the penultimate next.
Man.
All right, 11:37. NFL free agency is in the air. We just discussed what Ben Johnson, coach of the Chicago Bears, is doing.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, Nordo has some legal tampering related updates for us coming here momentarily. But
this is the biggest one, I think, so far, though.
Drew Dahlman?
In terms of affecting the Vikings, I would say absolutely.
Wow, there ain't no doubt about that. Division. Now, we're going to play the games, all right? And like Kevin Zeitler, the right guard for the Detroit Lions last year.
Yeah.
When Ben Johnson was the coordinator there. It's how am I going to put this? All right, yeah, I think it would be cool if somehow the Minnesota Vikings, with secondary help, were able to re-sign Byron Murphy, trade for Sauce Gardner, and sign trade for J.C. Horn. Well, that'd be great. You're going to have a lot of money back there, but a lot of luminaries.
Yeah.
Well, that's impossible. So, again, I'm the one banging my hand down because I like the guy and he's good. I really, really, really hope the Vikings can close on Byron Murphy Jr. today. If that's what the assumption they're interested, why wouldn't they be interested? So if it's like Murphy and somebody else of the secondary variety or somebody they draft, is those blemishes can be covered with a quality pass rush and a quality offense. And the Vikings have both. So therefore, like Zeitler with the Lions, Kevin Zeitler, whether he's with Cleveland, Baltimore, he's seen his better days.
Yep.
But I mean, that's a high-flying offense because they cover things up with either he gets help or they throw it more quickly or they run the other way. Stuff like Graham Glasgow. He's not
he's
one
okay.
He's not one of the NFL's best guards.
Right.
But that's one of the NFL's best offenses. So I see what he's doing here. But I can't remember their left tackle's name, Rasheed Walker or something or Rasheed Green.
Are you talking with the Packers or Lions?
Bears. Yeah.
Oh, Bears.
Yeah, the Bears, they have a couple of young tackles.
Rasheed Walker was the Packers guy.
Okay, left and right tackles. I like one of them, and I can never remember which one I like.
Braxton Jones on the left, and Darnell Wright.
Thank you. I like Darnell Wright. I'm a Darnell Wright guy. So I like him, but he's young and he has to improve, and he got a little gooey to him. So, but I mean, again, he's going to grow, and they'll craft him. Jonah Jackson again. That's going to be probably their right guard. Jackson, basically, he nearly was cut during the season last year by the Rams. He got hurt. He came back. He complained. He got benched, and they elevated second-year guy Stephen Avila from Texas Christian University. Johnson's like, sure, I'll take him.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Joe Thuney embarrassed himself in the Super Bowl at left tackle, but he's a guard.
He's a guard.
But he's right near the end of his career.
True.
Johnson's like, cool, I'll take it. You can do that and be the smartest guy in the room, but you got to have a centerpiece. And not just center. It could be left tackle or right tackle. Well, he got it today.
He did.
Now, I mean, I know the name Drew Dahlman, but I'm not going to pretend to know if he's a cross between Josh Myers and Jason Kelsey.
Yeah, I'm still trying to. They used to.
I thought he did weather on Channel 5.
It was Matthews on the left. At one point, we looked, and the Cowboys were this way forever, where it was just like, oh my goodness, with Swanson and I'm blanking on a hand. I mean, they're Tyron Smith on the left, but they had
Zach Martin.
There we go. He's terrific. But you had Chris Lindstrom, the Boston College cat. We actually looked at him for a time at left guard. Eric McGarry, I believe.
Yeah.
And then I forget who was on the right, but they had a very stout. And when he came in, he instantly started impacting games. So.
So how far is he in his career? Like going into the fifth year?
I think this is into his fifth year.
So this is going to be his second deal. Okay. Well, wow. Because if they trade or cut Chains, they're still going to be on the hook for money, like $30 million or something. So
if they cut him, it's the Russell Wilson thing.
Okay,
a team can pay him a couple $1 million, and Atlanta is still on the hook.
So I'm still, I'm a little just flabbergasted here. They haven't had to pay Bijan Robinson yet.
He'll be entering his third year, so they still have time on
I wouldn't pay
that.
Kyle Pitts if they have, but who knows?
Yeah, that doesn't work.
And Penix is into his second year, and so you still got 3 or 4 years on that before you can franchise him.
I wonder when Drake London's up, because Drake's been good.
Drake's good, yeah, but I mean Drake's not top of the heap wide receiver money. I just wonder where they spend their money there, so they couldn't retain Dahlman. which is moderately surprising to me. But I see what Ben Johnson's doing here.
Yep.
You got to have your linchpin. You know what? And if my man takes a left tackle with his first pick in the draft, or somebody who's a guard and puts him at tackle, or vice versa, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Because
it has to work with Caleb.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but for the best chance for it to work with Caleb is to get those blue chippers in front of him.
Yes.
Personally, I'm still not sure it's going to work. I mean, he belongs, but I'm just not sure he's going to get to where everybody told us he was going to get. But we'll see.
Feels slower to go. Some free agents, just some other. We mentioned it earlier. Jonathan Allen is here in Minnesota visiting the Vikings today, released by the Commanders, who, by the way, came to terms with Javon Kinlaw. So we were wondering where Javon Kinlaw was going to go.
Yeah.
They have all that cash. They'll have to sign Debo from that other trade that they made. Debo Samuel now in Washington as well. But Javon Kinlaw, it sounds like, would be their answer to losing Jonathan Allen.
With Javon Kinlaw, Daron Payne, and then offensively with Terry McLaurin and Debo Samuel, I mean, they don't want to play football games. They want to be in the squared circle.
Yeah.
They're going to bludgeon you. They're going to attempt to bludgeon you into submission.
Is that kind of a tough aura? I mean, DC itself, it feels like Yuppieville. It's political, right?
Well, I mean,
everyone else.
Yeah, when I was growing up in Anacostia, there was no Yuppieville to Anacostia.
No, that's my point. If you're a hardcore Washington fan and you don't live south of K Street, you probably that embodies the aura of the hardworking populace that lives around that area.
I took a day trip last year on a Friday to the Museum of the Bible. And it's in a part of town that's relatively close to where I used to live. I mean, that thing used to be a dump. It's beautiful now.
Rebuilt.
Yes. Wow. They've done a good job with your favorite mayor. What's his name? Marion Barry? Let's pause so we can get some more in, okay?
Yeah, we got some updates for you.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
I can't wait until tomorrow. 'Cause tomorrow might very well be too late. I can't wait until tomorrow. 'Cause tomorrow could never come.
Final segment, 9 to noon. No rap today because I have to open up about 15 different search engines looking for updates.
You have the entire weekend to write it, Abbott just said.
This is proven my reliance upon X in a big spot is failing me. BJ Hill, if you were looking about fat guys in the middle, 3-year, $33 million deal to stay with the Cincinnati Bengals. So they're still trying to, I think it's 5th-year option for Jamar Chase. They're trying to trade Trey Hendrickson.
Holy cow.
So we'll see, but BJ Hill gets paid.
This freaking X machine is still just spinning, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a complete L.
Yeah, you know what? That sucks.
Commanders, I mentioned Javon Kinlaw is joining Washington. Garoppolo, Jimmy G, is headed back to the Rams. Former Raider linebacker Robert Spillane, 3-year and $37 million to the Patriots.
High cheekbones back to McVay.
That is correct.
Spillane went where?
To the Patriots.
Okay.
The Jaguars are re-signing Jordan Lewis, a cornerback, to a 3-year deal.
Looks like Jourdain.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, this guy's pretty good. He's sneaky good.
Now, I saw this. How about this? Pittsburgh Post-Gazette writer Jerry Dulac. He reports the Steelers are closing in on a deal with Aaron Rodgers.
Wow.
And then even PFT, Florio just put out an article. I haven't read it yet. How much money will Aaron Rodgers want from the Steelers? So there might be serious steam.
Yeah.
Rodgers finding his way, the idea of finding a team with a chance to win. They just got DK on that $150 million deal. George Pickens is like, pockets turned out. Where's my money?
Yeah.
But the defense is good when TJ Watt is healthy. Now they might have Rodgers.
Well, I mean, FIRA, Fairness and Rodgers Act. Outside of the Tottenham Hotspur game where he got bludgeoned and the ancillary off the field stuff that just is, I think, would bug people around the NFL.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what do you mean, Paul? You're just being sour Vikings guy. No, I'm not. He skipped minicamp and didn't tell anybody.
Right.
That sucks.
He was in Egypt. Wasn't that the bet?
Yes, you can't do that. He made it weird. That ain't happening with Mike Tomlin. Okay, I'm just telling you right now, it's not happening with Mike Tomlin. That's part of the reason why Robert Saleh no longer coaches the Jets.
Yeah.
And that whole regime had to have an upheaval. So the Rooneys and Tomlin ain't trying to mess around with Aaron Rodgers trying to figure out what secret holes he can find on the northeast side of a pyramid so he can get in there and what's the next move, Aaron? Become mummified?
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for Tomlin to sit down there, and when Tomlin gets that look where he doesn't blink for about 6 straight minutes.
Yeah.
And
he lent 500 to me.
And he's just looking at you and he's like, you're not going on darkness retreats when we have practices and camps.
Yeah, right.
And to see how Aaron Rodgers handles that with his knowing his potential playing career is on the line here at this age.
This is hard to do. And I might be tell me if you think I'm being too old manish here or too staunch with it.
Okay.
If I sign Aaron Rodgers and I give you close to the money you want, you're not going on the Pat McAfee show.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm not watching you on an off day Tuesday and having to deal with the mysticism and what you think of Pickens and the wrong route he ran. And, I don't want to deal with it, man. But I'm not trying to silence. Ain't nobody trying to muzzle you here. You can do it all you want, just not during the season.
Well, I would put the mandate that he's not talking about his team in terms of players. And so, like you said, George Pickens running the wrong route.
Right.
I would let him, if he wants to go on there and talk about ayahuasca and anything, I would let him do that.
Fair point.
But I would make a mandate. You're not sitting here ripping a third down play call.
Are we late?
That potentially is dropping an L on somebody. You know what?
Just dropped a fat 45-second L on me.
Well, it's on Tenna, who's hosting next.
Yeah. Oh, he is?
So sorry about that, Tenna.
Yep. Tenna Fitzgerald next. Come on with that Tenna Fitzgerald. I'll be listening to each and every minute to my main man, Brandon Molesky. Thank you, everybody, for listening to Nordo and yours truly, Paul Allen. Back at it tomorrow on a Talker Tuesday. We're going to begin the show with Finch Show. Chris Finch out of the gate tomorrow, plus some more free agency festivities. 6:30 to 8 tonight, Nordo.
Yes, indeed.
With Sauce. Anything pops with the Vikings and you want to hook up with me, I'll be in the sinkhole watching the NBA.
Oh, can't wait.
Just go ahead and give me a call, okay?
I will.
Thank you very much for listening. Y'all have a nice day. Bye.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.